Hi beautiful souls, it's Tan here today again with another astrology video for you. And today I'm really excited because I'm going to be starting a new series alongside my current existing Saturn series and 5 stages of a relationship, synastry and composite series. This is going to be a North Node series. I'm really excited to talk about this because I absolutely love studying the North Node in astrology, and I love talking about it in astrology. So this is going to be really fun. So in this series, I'm going to be, first of all, giving you an introduction to how I interpret or what I make of the North Node, and then I will be going to North Node through the houses, and then in each of the North Node houses I'll be talking about North Node through each of the signs in that particular house. So if I talk about North Node in the first house, I'll be talking in that particular video about North Node in the first house, followed by North Node in Aries in the first house, Taurus in the first house, and so on. What is the North Node? I consider the North Node to really be the lessons of the soul in regards to what the soul is here to learn in this life in your natal chart. And there's a lot of different interpretations that astrology has given to the soul. There's esoteric astrology, which focuses mainly on the ascendant as being the soul in your chart, and I may talk about that later on the channel. There's also draconic astrology, so there's a lot out there, but I really think that when we want to look at something more practical in terms of things that you as the natal chart holder can actually do to practically in the material world develop your soul growth, we look at the North Node. Our soul is actually, whole and united at the very start of its journey, and it's been around for quite a while. It's had past incarnations, if you believe in that. And if not, then it's always been there at the start in a space of timelessness and infinity before it came to this physical body. So the physical body is within a time and space dimension. The soul is within timelessness. When the soul comes into the physical body, it sort of, shall we say, gets a bit fragmented. It loses its innocence when it comes into the physical body, because now there's a lot that the soul has to adjust to in the material world, and that is not really its nature. Within the unity of all of our souls, we are very much similar in the essence of it. The essence of that consciousness before it comes into this physical body is very similar in its wholeness. The fragmentation, however, is where the difference lies. And when I look at a particular natal chart, what you're seeing there with regards to where the planets are in which houses, which signs, and which aspect the planets are making to one another or to the ascendant or to the midheaven, we're looking at a sort of fragmented soul. And I think that that is absolutely a beautiful concept, because this gives all of us, a life in which we have a chance to integrate, to find integration into the wholeness and the unity that we all came from in the first place. So, as you know, I like to use analogies because I have Mercury in the 12th house, and so that works better for me. So I'm going to use an analogy of a car for this. So all cars have specific components that make up the car, like it needs it needs the engine, it needs a suspension, it needs brakes, it needs like a battery, it needs the steering, and so on and so forth. That's the entirety of what is needed to make a car function. But the thing is, when that wholeness, the idea, the consciousness of what is needed comes into the actual structure of the car in this world, it is not perfect at the start of its birth. And so In astrology, it's almost like you know that we have all the archetypes within us. We all have 12 signs. We all have the 9 planets. We all have asteroids within our chart. But then when it gets put into the physical body, the different way that it gets fragmented you can see that through the different aspects, especially the harder aspects that occurs with each of the planets in relation to each other. Let's say that someone in their chart has like a Venus square Saturn and a Sun opposite Pluto and a Moon opposite Pluto. So these are the fragmentation of the soul. And so what we can do, and this is really interesting, is that we can learn to work with these hard or even easy aspects in our chart. The more we learn to work with it, the more we give it expression, the more we get to the higher level of these harder aspects. And this is like putting the pieces of the components of the car together. That's what we're doing. We're putting all these components together so the car can run. And as we're putting the components together, as we're putting our aspects together, the car gets moving again. And it slowly begins to go in a certain direction. The fragmentation of the soul with regards to the aspects, they present themselves in the real world, this space and time dimension, as traumas that happen in childhood, things that stress us out, and ways that we carry our trauma into our adulthood, and the ways that we have to work through those childhood conditionings and traumas so that we can give it a proper expression to get the engine to go, to get the car and the engine running again. So yes, basically these aspects that we have within our chart that are these fragmentations are sort of our karma. That's really what it is, because the moment we take our traumas of the past and we replay them in our adulthood, the consequences of those actions, if we can decipher them and work with them, we will relieve ourselves of the karma. And the reason why, the fragmentation causes traumas is because of the loss of innocence. So the soul is used to being whole, right? And when it has to, meet with people in this space and time dimension, and when it has to cope with that, it's not used to having to cope with abandonment issues or abuse. The soul is innocent in timelessness. Now it has to cope with all of this, and the way that everyone is going to cope with it will vary depending on the aspects that occur between the planets. So let's say someone has a Sun square Pluto, they probably experienced some power struggles with a male authority or father figure while they were growing up, and they learned to deal with this by needing to learn self-control, by needing to know that they've got a lot of power within them because of the way they were conditioned, and the way that they're gonna use that power has to be channeled in the right way. Otherwise, it's like a volcano that erupts. So they're learning to use it with self-control. So when you're working with certain aspects, this is what you're learning to do, and then you give it the right expression. So when the engine starts moving and the car starts running again, where is it going really? What is the path that it's going towards? So the place where, the soul first gets dropped into the space and time dimension is the sign and the house of our south node. So as the engine starts moving again and the car starts running, and we start working with things in our natal chart, we start to move into the direction of the sign and the house of the north node. And so this is why I absolutely think that the north node is a vital point in the chart to show direction and end point that we are going towards when we are going through a process of soul integration. And so, the more that we start to integrate our soul and go towards a particular direction of our north node, away from the comfort zone of the south node, we start to feel that there's more meaning in life. That is the feeling that is being generated here, a feeling that something matters to us and that, life has meaning. The more you move towards your north node, the more evolved you become as a person. But when we're first starting to go through a process of soul integration and we're working through our traumas and becoming a whole person, we tend to get very obsessed with the north node. And that's why the north node in the chart can sometimes be a point of obsession. Because wow, these things that we're getting ourselves into, it's so new and it feels so good, feels like we're going somewhere with our life, and so we get a little bit obsessed with it. That's why we always want to balance out our south node and our north node. We want to move to the north node, but we never want to forget the skills, the lessons, the core, the inner parts of who we are with regards to our south node. Staying stuck in the south node will cause you to feel a sense of like the soul is decaying or a certain feeling of discontentment. Moving too much into the north node is going to cause obsession and a bit of fanaticism. The balance between these two will allow you to feel that life has new meaning, that there are possibilities out there that you've never even considered before. So let's say that, for example, someone, let's say, has a moon conjunct Saturn in their chart, and they're working with these past traumas of a moon conjunct Saturn, and they're trying to give it expression and feeling more whole and integrated. This means that this person is learning to decondition their past emotional habit patterns with regards to, feeling like they are having to be responsible for a lot of things in life and working really hard and sort of being emotionally closed off, probably, having their sort of inner child not really be allowed to live. That's what kind of causes the moon conjunct Saturn. And let's say they have a north node in the 7th house. So as this person is working towards becoming more emotionally open, emotionally sort of freer, while of course still having the discipline, they'll always have discipline with regards to, their habits and the way they feel, but they're becoming a little bit more trusting and having more faith in life. Where are they going with this? So if they have a north node in the 7th house, they're going to work through this aspect and they're going to see how this plays out within their relationships or their marriage to other people. So they're learning to have faith, and at the end of the day, see if they can use this faith and trust in a partnership, in a relationship, to make long-term partnerships work for them. Because if they're not, with the south node in the 1st house for this particular person, they will be on their own, and they may feel a certain amount of loneliness in life because they're working so hard to save money, and they're being emotionally closed off a lot of times, and they prefer to just be much like a lone wolf, and they will feel discontentment and that the soul is slowly starting to decay. But when they can work with this conjunction, have some faith and trust in life, play that out in a long-term committed partnership of loyalty and trust, yet, real trust and faith in the partnership, they will feel like this gives them meaning in life, and this is a new possibility that they've never ever considered before. So, guys, I hope that kind of made some sense, and yeah, so feel free to come back to this video anytime you wish to as you're going through the North Node series. So I'm going to be doing this differently. I'm going to be trying something new. I'm going to be going through the odd houses first, and then I'm going to do the even houses reversed. Yay! So we don't always have like the 12th house going last and stuff like that. So we're going to do like North Node in the 1st house, 3rd house, 5th house, 7th house, 9th house, 11th house, and then like North Node in the 12th house, 10th house, and going backwards. You get the idea here. Yeah, so if you like this video, give it a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button below if you haven't. If you already subscribed, thank you very much for coming along. I do birth chart readings, synastry chart readings. All the information is on my website. You can check that out, and I'll see you in the next video. Have a beautiful day, beautiful souls. Bye.